listeners, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, here we are again, another podcast, and what a treat we've got today. We've got a colleague from the industry who comes from Antigua, somebody that those of us who've been lucky enough to be there will know it's a little bit of paradise. Those who haven't been, you must, you should, and hopefully by the end of the show you probably will plan something. So today we've got the operations manager from Airport Services Antigua, and we have Marva Richards. And Marva, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you, Chris.
Really appreciate it. I just joked with Marva earlier, just as we were going on, and said I bet she's pleased she didn't marry somebody called Luss, because Marva Luss would have been a fantastic name. But she told me that her sister, Ava, sometimes calls you that, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
And then I had a little bit of a leg pull, and I assumed that she called her father, mother Marva. So at least we started off on a good smile, Marva. Now, just if you can just tell everybody, how did you come to be on the podcast, and why did you agree to be on there? Apart from accepting that I'd have a little bit of fun with you.
Well, actually, my boss told me about the podcast, and she thought that people would like to hear my points of view, and I thought might be interesting. So let's try. Yeah,
no, that's good enough. That's good enough. Now, again, I've got to come back to Antigua. What a beautiful island.
It is, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Now, how long have you been working for the airport services in Antigua?
About 33 years, somewhere there.
So you must have started when you were about 10, huh?
Somewhere there too, yes. I think when I joined, I was about 17 years old.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Now, did you just fall into it like most of us? I mean, I never intended to be in this business, and it just happened. Was that the same for you, or did you always want to be, working in the aviation industry?
It's a strange and sort of odd story. I remember going to the airport. I might have been just finishing school or something, and I saw a lady that I knew. She lived about 2 streets from me, and I said, oh, I think I could do that. And I loved her uniform. And I thought, wow, that looks like an interesting job. They were all at the counter doing whatever you do at the counter. Yeah. And I was just looking on, and I thought, that's interesting. That looks like something that I could do. And as fate would have it, I joined Airport Services Antigua, but not at the airport. I actually joined as a bookkeeper in the city office. Okay. And after about a year of doing that, I got extremely bored. And I said to my boss, listen, this is boring as hell. And he said, would you like to go to the airport? And I thought, the airport? Okay. And so he said, okay, here's what you're going to do. We have a ground handling agency, and I'm going to let you go 3 nights per week, and you're going to see what they do, and you'll tell me if you like it. And that began the love story. Yeah. I absolutely loved it.
And what was his name?
Calvin Rogers.
Calvin Rogers. So he's the one.
He was the one who got me started in this. He was the owner of Airport Services at the time, and gave me the opportunity. And I am grateful.
What a nice way to let you go in your own time and see if you like it. Huh?
Absolutely. And I never looked at another accounting book after that.
So for everybody who works in the financial departments, we're sorry.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry.
But it is what it is.
So sorry.
Now, when you're looking out from those counters, because they're on the front of the terminal, I mean, it's the scenery is fantastic when you turn up there.
It is.
And you must always be seeing people always happy.
I have met so many people, and some weren't always happy. Some weren't always happy.
They're the ones we want to hear about.
Some, depending on the client that you had, when I say client, I mean the carrier client, then you could say, well, okay, yes, today is not going to be such a good day in terms of, people fussing about seats or fussing about this or that or the other or excess baggage or something or the other. But in general, I met a lot of people who were absolutely very pleasant. They appreciated the things that we did, which we just sort of took for granted, but they would pass back, let's say a year later, and they were bringing you a gift, and you were trying to think, okay, who are you? What did I do? And that was rewarding. I have many friends over the years who I just met at the counter, or who I just walked with to the gate, or something.
That's lovely.
And still friends to this day. So I think it's a fabulous job.
Yeah, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to by letting people hear and listen to the people in the industry behind the positions. Let people have a different insight into the business, so that hopefully youngsters out there, they'll think, oh, I never really thought of that. But it's so important to enjoy your job, huh?
Absolutely.
And to make people, like, nothing's interesting if you're not interested. So how
Absolutely.
do you inspire people? Now, as far as youngsters coming in, what would you say is something that they will definitely get from working in our industry?
I think the rewards of meeting people. You never know who you will meet, and you don't know how they will touch your life. And there are the opportunities to grow, the opportunities to learn. The ground handling business, to me, is a plus over working for an airline. And why I would say that is that you have the ability to learn several systems, several airlines, what they do, what they're like, their various check-in systems, their baggage systems, their load control systems. So I think we are geniuses because we can wear 10 hats, and we can hop from one flight to the next and one check-in system to the next and get it all done and not look flustered. So I think that it's a good industry to get in. If I may share, I have an 18-year-old son, and Terrell. And Terrell, I used to take him to the airport with me on a Saturday morning. And I would say, sit in the corner and let me get some things done. And he was sucking it all in. And he started printing and having sheets of paper. And I would say, what's that? And he'd say, I'm making boarding passes.
Himself, yeah?
Yes.
That's good.
And I'm making bag tags, and I'm going to check in today. And I thought, this child is joking. But long and short, he's now 18 years old. He's doing his A-levels, and he's looking very much at coming into the industry. He has plans to study airline and aviation management and come into it with his mom.
That's nice.
And that was just from coming to the airport with me and having a look at things, and he's just totally fascinated. If I have to travel somewhere, I say, Terrell, I'm going to Spain. And he's going to tell me what aircraft type, what the seating is, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we have a great time.
So he's hooked.
Yeah,
but I think that's a lot. I mean, you're such an enthusiastic character, and it just rubs off. So I'm sure he sees all the good sides of the business. Interesting what you said about the fact that the handlers yourselves, that you're geniuses.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been.
I won't take that back.
No, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there now looking at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm a genius as well.
Oh, yes.
But the one of the reasons is because of the flexibility and the capability you have to show, because everybody's got different systems. Everybody's got different ways.
Absolutely.
Now, don't you think life in our industry would be a lot easier if people did it the same way?
Absolutely. It would certainly sort of take away maybe whatever little feeling of confusion that you may sometimes have, or just trying to remember, okay, which carrier am I on today?
Yeah.
It would take some of that away. But for me, I've always said to my staff, listen, you just need a notebook. You just need a notebook, write everything down, and you'll be fine. Just know where the pages are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You'll be fine. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Now, have you were saying earlier about, and it's through all walks of life, you meet awkward people, you meet polite people, you meet all sorts. If something goes wrong So if there's a flight delay or weather or whatever, and people get frustrated and they don't, know what to do. How do you get around that? What would you say is a great tip for anybody who has to face an angry crowd who feel that they haven't been communicated well to, and now they're going to be given a little bit of bad news? How would you advise people to deal with such a situation?
I think one of the things is not to take it personally. We're human, so we have the tendency to think that it's really us that they're getting at, but it's just the situation. So if you just take a 10-second, not 10 minutes, a 10-second break, if you can. We used to have back offices a few years ago. There's not that in our new terminal now. But you could just go to the back for 10 seconds, pull yourself together.
Have a little scream,
have
mash
a
out,
little
hit something.
Scream, hit something, and then just get back out, smile, and deal with the situation. But don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Just try to help them as best as you can. Just try and be truthful. With whatever it is that's happening, be truthful. This is what's happening, and we're here to help you.
No,
we're here to help you.
Yeah, and if it's sincere and people can see, then that's the best way.
Then that's the best way.
Now, your younger son, Tristan, is he going to come into the business?
He talks about that. He talks about that as well. He's been saying he wants to be an aircraft mechanic, but at 13, I'm not sure. But we will see.
Yeah, no, it's good if they know what to do. And your husband? My
husband is the ramp and maintenance manager for airport services Antigua, so I am his boss. Don't tell him I said that.
No. I think all of us, all of us, we know who the bosses are.
So I'm his boss on the job. So I guess that's why the boys would be that involved, because they sort of
they can't get away from it.
They can't get away from it. They can't get away from it. Terrell had his passport when he was about 6 months old, and there was I dragging him off to everywhere that I could possibly take him.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're very much an aviation airport family, so we don't get away from it. We have to stop ourselves from talking when we get home.
No, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And have you got them any special gifts here in Madrid?
Real Madrid T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yes, I took a bus and a train with 16 stops trying to find this store to get these shirts. And my sister who's with me said, and we're going to show them the bill.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's a lovely city, isn't it?
It is. The architecture is fantastic. Yeah. And the people just milling up and down, and
it's very
the
vibrant.
Atmosphere is brilliant. I am thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of living here for nearly 6 years, and it was probably the best period of our family life. It was absolutely superb. Nice. So much to do.
So much to do.
Yeah, it's
yes.
incredible.
My sister actually said, wow, there's nothing to do in Antigua.
Oh, no.
But I'm sure there is.
No, I remember the first time going to Antigua. It just blew me away. And some of the places like English Harbour and Shirley Heights.
Yes.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
A fun spot for the visitors and the locals alike.
Yeah. No, it's great. Now, obviously, with a surname like Richards, we have to mention that sport, cricket, and Viv. I'm sure you knew that was coming.
Yeah. It always comes.
Paths or
I know who he is. Antigua is small, so you tend to know everyone. So yes, I'm familiar with who he is. My husband is a huge cricket fan. He actually played cricket at school level, or what they call first class level. Yeah. So when I met him, I had no choice. I had to try to figure things out so that I wouldn't look silly at whatever cricket matches we were going to. And half of the time at the matches anyway, I would just sit there going, okay, what just happened?
Yeah. I must admit, I struggle with it.
Yes, I'm still struggling, but... Yeah.
I've got a brother-in-law he loves his cricket, Mickey Taylor. Mm-hmm. And obviously Viv Richards, he's an avid fan. And obviously Viv Richards was very close friends with Ian Botham.
Yes.
And I've met Ian Botham and seen him. He goes to a golf club in Spain, in a little place. Well, it's just outside Majaca called Desert Springs.
Right.
So he's there a lot. But they were two incredible characters, amazing characters.
Yes, and of course we have the other sirs as well. Sir Kirtley. Sir Richie. And Sir Andy.
Yep, Sir Andy.
Sir Andy Roberts.
Oh, okay.
The fast bowler.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
See, so when's Viv going to be a sir?
He's a sir.
Oh, he is a sir?
Yes, he's been knighted already.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yes, we have lots of sirs.
There is, yeah. And I'm sure lots of other celebrities you've bumped into in your time.
Yes, you see them. You see them at the counter.
Yeah.
That's where you normally see them. And you're trying not to get overexcited, so you're just smiling a little bit. There was Timothy Dalton.
Oh,
James Bond.
Yeah.
I think he may have had a house in Antigua or something, because he would go back and forth, and he was lovely. He actually came into the office and we took pictures with him, so I still have that picture.
I think he was
this
pretty
day.
good.
Yeah, he was nice.
Yeah, he was good.
Nice chap.
Yeah, and anybody else?
I can't think, but you see them, and my son, who's taking this thing so seriously. So there's a small ground handling company. They do flights to our sister island, Barbuda, and to Montserrat, etc. And he's been working with them part-time. And he came home a few weeks ago and he said, I saw Richard Branson.
Okay.
I saw Richard Branson. I was so excited.
Yeah.
So they're passing through.
Yeah, but it's always nice to see them.
Absolutely.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Now, as far as getting back to the business, now, what's the most difficult situation you've ever had to deal with?
I have to think. I think maybe,
apart from telling your husband he didn't do what he should have done during the day.
Dear. Oh boy. I think for me, I don't think I dwell on it. I am able to, after a very hard day or night, go home, shower, sleep, get up, and I've forgotten all about it. But I think the most difficult days is if you maybe have a night stop. So the aircraft has gone technical and, everybody has to come off and everybody's mad. Or maybe there's not enough hotel space and you're trying to work with something like that. I can't think of anything else. We have been pretty good in terms of safety, so we don't see incidents, accidents. We really don't, have that kind of situation. It's more maybe if, as I said, if an aircraft goes unserviceable, and you're dealing with that, and it could be an overnighter or a day or two of looking at this aircraft out there exactly. With no replacement. But other than that, I don't think about it. I don't dwell on it.
No, good. No. And we'll come back to how you relax and spend a bit of spare time. But and any really fantastic experience or something that you think, this has been such a great day. What would that have been?
Funny. The last 2-3 years, I have gone to Terrell's school. Well, both Tristan and Terrell go to the same secondary school. And I've had the opportunity to go speak to their third formers and fourth formers about jobs. So, of course, I talk about mine. And the opportunity to share the experiences and just to have them then come up to me and say, well, can I call you? Can I call you in when I'm done from school? I think that's been just fantastic for me. I think if I was not in aviation, I think I would have been a teacher. So I seemingly get attracted to all these young people, and being able to just chat with them about what I do and what we do at the airport has been thrilling for me. For some reason, I thoroughly enjoy that.
And what do you do? What do you do to balance? So when you've got a bit of free time, or how do you relax? How do
I have free time? I don't know. I love reading.
Yeah, good.
Anything. I love mystery novels.
Yeah.
So I like reading those. I like puzzles. I like music. 80s pop.
Yeah.
80s. Let's not pass the 80s. Anything after that.
So what's your like if I was to bump into Carlton now and I say, Carlton, if you had to put a record on to make Marva, or to know that Marva would jump up out of the chair and she'd be straight on the dance floor, what would that magic record be?
Okay, so let's think. Something. As I said, ET. So you're thinking Eurythmics.
Eurythmics?
Yeah.
Which one?
I don't know, but if you give me one, if you sing something now, but anything
you've
from the 80s.
You've got about as much chance of me singing.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I'm
well,
not. That's
well, then we're not going to sing today. But anything that's 80s pop, and I like reggae.
Okay, yeah.
But don't tell anybody I said that.
Everybody does. Everybody does.
I like reggae.
And what one of Marley's would be your favourite?
One Drop.
One Drop.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
One Drop.
That's a good one. And right, so we got the music. And if it was a book, what's your favourite genre? What is it that you like to read?
I like Agatha Christie. I like her mysteries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can sit there for hours, but then I don't normally have hours. But yes, I can sit there and I'm good with that.
And if you were to have your own biography, what do you think the title would be? Anything that comes to mind? Because by the end of the show, I'm going to pick something.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh,
So just have a think. What would you think?
Well, we could go with Marvelous Marvs.
Marvelous Marvs, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
And I like shopping.
You like shopping?
Yes, but I'm a girl.
I was going to say there's a shock.
Yeah.
And on your travels, because obviously you're here in Madrid now.
Yes.
What do you think is the benefit of attending a conference like this?
The networking is good. The learning is actually good. While I think a lot of people focus on the networking, for me, it's keeping abreast of what's going on in the industry. And again, looking at things from the fact that, we're smaller, we're an island, we're sort of remote. And so it's good to know what's happening. Some of it we can take back. Some of it we may just have to say, okay, we're not quite there yet. But it's good to know what's going on. It's going to help us to grow, I think, as a small handling company. And again, the networking is fine. My boss said to me, I think when we were in Doha last year, everybody knows you. And I'm not sure why that is, but
I've got a few ideas.
But again, for me, just saying hello and giving my card, and as soon as you say you're from the Caribbean or you're from Antigua, that strikes up a conversation anywhere, and I'm willing to have the conversation about the beaches and whatever they want to talk about. And who knows what will happen then? Some airline decides, well, listen, we're going to Antigua.
Yeah.
And we met that girl.
Yes,
indeed. In Spain.
In Spain, yeah.
What was her name again? Marva.
Marvelous.
Yes,
indeed.
So we're going to call her company.
Exactly. Yeah, and where's been your favourite? Like, so you mentioned Doha. We're here in Madrid. Where's been your, coming from where you do? What's been the most impressive location that you visited?
I think travel for me, and I've said this to my boys as well, that it expands the mind.
Yeah.
There's so much more than the little island that we live on. So I am always excited to hear where the next place is. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been to the conferences in Kuala Lumpur, in Thailand, in Doha, Toronto, Spain, and they all have something that you can take back. I mean, in terms of what you see, in terms of the offerings, and so I just like it all. Yeah. I say to persons all the time, listen, my passport and my toothbrush stays in my bag. When my boss says you're going, I'm just like, I'm there.
And that's a great opportunity for people.
Absolutely.
The possibilities of travel and witnessing the world, and at the end of the day, definitely
It is a massive learning experience.
Yeah. And the older you get, the smaller it is. That's
and
what
the older you get, the smaller it is.
Bump
Absolutely.
into people everywhere, and and it's such a lovely thing to be able to say, yes, I remember, or I've been there, or like we were talking earlier, Shirley's Heights, yeah,
yes,
and English Harbour and some of the other places. Fantastic.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. Now, when you go back, and you're back in the in the normal swing of things, is there anything that you think that you would love to see change within the next couple of years?
I think we have a lot of work to do still in terms of how we sell our industry.
Yeah, good.
Ground handling is seen as maybe not such a glamorous job. The hours are long. The shift work doesn't entice anybody. You're not sure if you're gonna be off on a weekend. It is known that wages tend to be not of the best. And so that might be a deterrent if that's all that persons hear. Yeah. So I think we have to do a bit more work to sell ourselves, to show that, listen, the learning abilities, the room for growth, the meeting of people. There's just nothing like that. The rewarding feeling that you will have. Once you've helped someone, even if you don't think that you're helping them, I think those are things that just make you grow as a person. And I think we need to sell ourselves a little better. And I think we need to do some work on that, even in Antigua. There's still persons who come and knock on my door and they say, well, I'm looking for a job. I say, well, what do you want to do? Or what do you know about us? And they have no clue. So we need to get out there, and we need to somehow look at ways to keep our staff. The whole industry now, you just keep hearing the word attrition. Everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving. And I think
the good ones.
And I think we need to focus a bit more on the why and how we can keep them. It may not be in terms of money, salary, but we have to look at ways that we can offer them something that will hold them, especially the good ones.
Yeah, and training. Obviously, you've got a good training program.
Training is we try our best with training. We rely a lot on the clients that we have to assist us in training. Again, we're a bit remote, and so sometimes that becomes a difficulty. Believe it or not, even just in maybe an IT setup, you can have a difficulty there. I don't know. I'm not an IT person, but I've had challenges with speed and internet not working, and you're trying to set up something and it doesn't work, or it's not compatible with maybe what we have on the island. So things like that are sometimes a challenge, but we understand that training is important. And we have a good board at Airport Services, and they are open to providing training to the staff. It doesn't even have to be aviation related.
No, that's really good.
Yes, it doesn't have to be. If once you tell them that, listen, I'm interested in this, and they will look at it. Yeah, they will look at it. I've had the opportunity to do my master's with the University of Liverpool. In international business, and it was 3/4 sponsored by Airport Services. So I know when I say we will help, we will help. Learning is important, growth is important, and we will help any way that we can.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you do a final thesis or a final study on anything?
Yes, my dissertation was on strategic management, looking at we have a new terminal facility, and looking at whether or not strategic planning was used and I'm not going to tell you how it came out. One of my directors said to me, "Do not show that to anyone." But I passed.
No, I'm sure you did.
With merit.
Oh, good on you. That's it. But that's a great thing for a company to invest in their
absolutely,
key people,
absolutely. If I look at myself, I would say then that would not have been possible without their help and their support. So I'm grateful.
No, that's fantastic.
I'm grateful.
And what do you think? One of the things that I'm really focused on, and in fact at lunchtime, I've got a session on it. It's to do with training, and I think there's too much traditional classroom training. And from what I see, with especially some of the youngsters coming in, they don't want to be in a classroom for long periods of time, and their attention, it's just not there.
Absolutely.
So we need to do something different to excite them. Do it in smaller chunks, modules, using apps, etc. But making them relate to the fact that you've got to maintain your levels of competency. So you have to do them, and they will be scored and they will be tested. But if they're done in smaller, more interesting segments, I think it'll stay longer.
Yes, I would agree. And I think one of the things we have to remember as well is that the aptitude levels across our industry, it varies. Okay, so you will have your loaders, your guys who are loading the bags. You have to think about them, and you have to think about how you're going to teach them versus your high school graduate or your college graduate.
Yep.
You certainly can't teach them the baggage guys. I'm not putting them down in any way because I love my ramp staff to bits. They make me look good. But you do have to stop and think, okay, how are we going to make it interesting for them? Yeah. And two, how are we going to make it comfortable for them? Because sometimes they're not comfortable. And in-house, sometimes we have to assign other persons to, let's say, sit with them and say, okay, well, this is, all right, you tell me, and I'll type it for you. I'll show you what you need to do. So I think we need to think about that as well, making it a little more holistic, thinking of the different groups of people and how they learn. My sons are very much into their phones and I just go, fix that for me. And so we have to find ways to keep them engrossed in what's happening, and maybe the traditional ways now of putting down 10 sheets of paper with 50 questions might not work, or having them try to read something that's 20 pages long. That may not work as well. So I agree. I agree that we need to look at that. Yeah,
modernise and change.
Absolutely.
Have you seen the Swissport, the lifting help, the automated protecting your back and assisting with your joints and everything?
I voted for them.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's good. It's good.
It's good.
Did you try it, or?
I haven't tried it. I'll try my best to go, but I did vote for it because I thought, I love that for my boys.
Yeah, and it shows that they're caring about people for the right reasons.
And it shows that they're caring.
Yeah, I think it
shows that they're caring.
Yeah, no, I do. Now, if I was to ask other people, and you said that, like, how appreciative you are of your boys because they make you look good. If I was to just turn up in Antigua, and how I wish I was, and I just walked into the staff room or afterwards, and I said, look, we know Marvelous. I said, but, how do you guys, what do you think? What makes her tick? What makes her the lady that she is, the manager she is? What do you think they'd say? How would they describe Marvelous?
Well, they're going to tell you that I have facial expressions. So they know when I am happy. They know when I am pissed.
Well, thank God I've only seen the happy side.
But they'll also tell you that I leave them to get on with it. I would say that I am big on training, and I guess it's the
teacher
it's
element,
the teaching thing. But my mom was a teacher. My mom was a school teacher. Actually, she retired as a school principal. So I think maybe I've sort of gotten that from her. So I think that learning is important, and I think that you must do at least the basics. So once I've given you the basics and you have the tools, I'm going to leave you to get on with it. I don't need to hover over you, but know that I'm there. So if you want to come and talk to me about your girlfriend, your mother, your sister, your baby mother, I'm there.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That's good. And as far as being remembered in the business sense now, how do you think people would remember you for your impact or your influence? What would the core strengths be?
I think I'm a better speaker than I think. I think people actually think I have something to say.
That's why you're here, Marvelous.
It's not the most comfortable thing for me. But I've had people say to me, you don't talk very much, but when you do, it makes sense. Yeah. You're very sound. So
that's the best way.
I guess that's how I'll be remembered, as sometimes maybe coming over a little reserved, but once I'm comfortable, then you'll hear from me. Yeah, you'll hear what I have to say.
Good. Now, your boss. Uh-huh. How'd you get on with your boss?
My boss is female like me.
Fantastic.
Sometimes I think maybe we might butt heads a little bit, because we are both two very firm people in what we're doing and what we believe in. I think for me, and this is not necessarily to put her down in any way. When I started at airport services, I started as an agent. So I did check-in, I worked in baggage, I boarded flights, and then I spent many years in load control. So I did load sheets when load sheets were the little green pad with the Africa for the balance chart. You know those? You've seen them? Yeah. And so my knowledge of things is very, very wide. And so you sort of can't fool me now.
Yes, I can imagine.
So I'm very quick to say, that's not going to work. Yeah. That's not going to work. And maybe sometimes it may come over a bit strong, but I'm just very passionate about what I do, and it must be done properly every time. Yeah. So we may...
Attention to detail, huh?
Oh, very much so. I don't miss anything.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now, talking about that now, as far as verification, validation, self-assessments, and giving proactive performance reports to your airline customers, how do you manage those? Have you got a system, a toolkit?
Not really, you know.
Do they place very stringent SLAs on you?
I think the relationship, you have to try to develop a relationship with your airline client. So whoever their duty manager, airport manager is, I think communication, some sort of relationship is important. And yes, while they may sometimes have some stringent SLAs, if you're able to have a conversation, well, can we look at this one? Yeah. Can we tweak this one a little bit? This is how I think. Come with me.
Yeah. Okay, so
let's go outside.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what actually happens. Here you go. Yeah. Then you can maybe make a few adjustments here and there. And I think we're on an island, so maybe it's a plus sometimes that the persons that we report to are not there.
Yep.
We're sort of on our own.
Yep.
And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's really not so good, because you sometimes need to just have the conversations. Our main client is very present, and we have a very good working relationship. And as I said, we are open to discussing it, even if we have to sort of fight it out a little bit. And that's a girl as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're able to to work together and tweak things. And certainly for us, it's about pleasing the client.
Yeah, no,
So,
always.
we have to do what we have to do. Yeah. So, if we have to bend a little, we will.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Agility rather than flexibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Marva, we've almost come to the end. I asked you about the book. What what do you think the title of your book would be?
You're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you from my point of view because
I just said Marvelous Marva and I haven't changed.
Yeah, no, for me it would be The Aviation Teacher, One Drop, Marvellous.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you like that, yeah? So that would be yours. And then if we could put it to a little bit of reggae music, then that would be the one. So that will probably be how it appears when we have your picture in the album. So again, thank you so much for sharing your time.
You're most welcome. I enjoyed this thoroughly.
It's an absolute pleasure. You're a lovely lady, and I'm sure everybody enjoys working with you.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you again. And just before we go, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would you like them to do so?
You can contact me via email. Can I give that now?
You can indeed, yes.
Okay, so it's Marva, Marva.Richards with an S at ASAANU.com.
Lovely. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Thank you.